All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am beyond thrilled, excited, humbled, ecstatic. I couldn't be more over the moon about our guest today, the legendary Spencer Haywood. If you are not familiar, this is a great opportunity for you to get familiar. I was fortunate enough to meet Spencer a couple of years ago and worked on some stuff with him, so I know his story pretty well. And so I'll give you the cliff notes so we can get right into it. But Spencer was born in 1947, is that correct? 1947?
49.
49. Okay, my mom was 47. 1949
Yeah.
in Silver City, Mississippi, born into indentured slavery. Into slavery. So Spencer literally spent his entire childhood picking cotton in fields and was discovered playing basketball in his late teens, and then was shuffled off to the Olympics, led the world in scores, points, rebounds. I mean, he went from literally an unimaginable situation to traveling the world and setting world records and just being thrown into this new life of his. He has also sued the NBA and took him to the Supreme Court and won, and has created generational wealth for generations of athletes, some of which don't even understand that Spencer Haywood is solely responsible for a lot of the good things that are happening in their life. So most recently, Spencer's been getting a lot of traction because of the show Winning Time on HBO. A lot of people are just learning about Spencer Haywood's story, partially because of some of the scenes in this show. So if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. But what Spencer really means to me is perseverance and purpose, right? When I think of Spencer, that's what I think of. What he has done in his life is absolutely incredible, and he's not done yet. So enough of me talking. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Spencer Haywood.
Hey, good to be with y'all again.
Been a while.
Tell the audience that we used to do some podcasting together.
All right. Well, it ain't over yet, man.
Very strong shows. Very strong shows.
No, we will be putting the links, because Molly's intro was, if you don't know, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version, but we'll put the links in. You go watch those episodes that we did together, and it's good stuff here.
Nice, yeah.
The Chuck D one was good. Yep, that was a fun day.
Well, Spencer, I believe that the universe gives you and puts you where you need to be at all times. And I was reminiscing about how I met you and how you knew my cousin, or know my cousin, who also played basketball. And, the world is really just such a small place. And I'm so grateful to know you and to get to work with you, because I think about you all the time. A week ago, I was doing something in my house, and I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, Spencer was literally picking cotton and discovered in his late teens. So that means in the 60s. Am I correct? In the 60s?
Yes, in the 60s. I was a slave.
I literally stopped what I was doing, because it's one thing to say 1949, you were born into slavery, and it's easy enough for a lot of people to say, well, that was a different time. No, we're talking about in the 60s. In the 60s, you were picking cotton. You were still a slave. And that to me is just absolutely mind-boggling. And so I'm really curious, that transition from, picking cotton and playing basketball on the court and being discovered, who was the person that saw you and took you out? Because I know somebody took you under their wing and taught you a lot. Who was that person?
That person is Will Robinson. But let me back up a little bit about the Mississippi journey, because it was so important for my life, What happened was, when Silver City is a place that ain't no city, and it ain't no silver. It's just cotton fields. So we had a population of 375 people, and we were just sharecroppers or just slaving, just because you have to eat. And so I started picking cotton when I was at the tender age of 4 years old, because that's when you go into the field, because you don't have a babysitter and everyone else is in the cotton field. So you have to go out into the cotton field, and so you go to work. And so as I was getting older and bigger, I could see where this was like competition, because I have 5 brothers, and we were made it a competition, because who could pick the most, who had the best. The road was very clean, because you had to clean the cotton as if you were a machine, but you were doing it by hand. So I was good with both hands, and because I have big, huge hands, I could hold a lot of cotton, and I could put it into the sack. So I was always out outpicking my brothers because I was in competition. I would get up in the morning when these guys was like, eating breakfast and trying to, like, well, do I want to go in this field? I hate it. I would be out there in the field because I wanted to pick the cotton while the cotton was wet. So when they weighed my cotton, I had more cotton. So I was in competition, and then they caught on later on and said, oh, man, this is competition. So we just made it like, instead of work, it was really competition. And so I learned to pick with both hands, right and left, from a row of cotton on both sides. So I had 2 rows of cotton that I was picking from. And Lord knows I didn't know why the higher power, God as we know it, had me in that situation. But then when I look back on my development, you could see that it was developing me. And because my hands were soft and I could handle, the ball real well. And also I had both hands. I could work with both hands on the court. And then I had pulled that sack of 100 pounds from the time I was like 10. I started pulling a sack of 100 pounds, and you pull the sack about 100 yards down the cotton row. And then you have 100 pounds. You whip the sack on your back at 10, and you walk it all the way back to the trailer. And then you weigh it, and then you dump it out, and you go back to the next one. But what it was doing, Molly and Matt, it was building up my legs. My legs were so powerful and so strong. I know this is weird, but that's what happened. And so when I got to high school, I was in the 9th grade, everybody was like, this guy is big, he can do things, and they put me on the court. But before they put me on the court, let me go back to my first basketball. My first basketball was made by my mother. I know you're going to like, the audience is going, why do you make a basketball? You make a basketball out of clothing, a cotton, and you put it in a little sack and you tighten it up really tight. And it's a great ball, but there's a trick. It don't bounce.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
It don't bounce, so you had to create the rules that it's like bop, bop, and you make the pass. And then we had a barrel rim up because we couldn't afford a big rim and a real rim, so we had a barrel rim up. So that everything you threw up fell in. So this barrel rim is this big. Right. So my confidence was quite high. Yeah. And so when we got over to elementary school and into high school, which I was a freshman, the high school coach saw me and said, well, you got to play. And I was like, I've been waiting for you to tell me that I could play. And do I get any shoes? He said, yes, you get a new pair of Converse. And I was like, yes, because I had been playing in those little Jeeper shoes called tennis shoes or Jeeper shoes. They had no grip, no nothing. It was just some shoes that fit. Right. And all of a sudden I got those Converse on. I was like, oh man, I could fly. I could do anything here now. And I ran down the floor of the gym and stopped. I said, yeah, this is my game. So I played that year at McNair High School in Belzoni, Mississippi, which was 7 miles from Silver City, because we had no store, we had no gas, we had nothing in Silver City. So everything was taking place in Belzoni. And I left there and I went to Chicago with my brothers because my brothers came back home. Oh, you poor brothers. Oh, we are rich up north, man. And so I was like dying. I got to go to the north, to Chicago. So I get to Chicago with these fools, and all they did was drink whiskey and had, half a pint of whiskey in their back pocket and talking a lot of talk. And they didn't want to, they were trying to figure out, well, we're going to get you into Crane Tech University, Crane Tech High School, and we're going to man, we're going to bet on you. We're going to make some money off of you. And I was like, I just wanted room. I hadn't even heard of betting. What are you talking about? Right. And so my brother from college came over from Bowling Green State University, and he saw what was going on in my life then. and I was working at Fred Harvey's restaurant as a busboy most of the time. That was the summer months, and then I was preparing for school. He said, let's get out of here. Let's go over to Bowling Green State University, where he had went to school, because he was raised up north in Detroit. Out of all the boys, you know, my aunt picked him to come up north and work with her. And so we went to Detroit, and I played at Bowling Green for a while, and we just had fun. Then it was time getting ready to enroll in school in Detroit, and then or at Bowling Green State University. And I was a little shy at Bowling Green University because it was the first time that I had went to integrated school. I've never been in a room with white folks or anything. So I had a little bit of a problem. So my brother said, let's go and try out. They have this big special tournament going on in Detroit at Crunk. And most people know Crunk as Crunk boxing, but it was also Crunk basketball and outdoor courts and tennis and baseball, etc. So I went up there to play, and my brother said, let me get you on this high school team, the high school all-star team, and you can play in the tournament there. So I played against those guys in high school, and some of them was All-American and stuff, and I was 15. So I went out there and I played. I had 27 points and 12 rebounds, and everybody was like, who is he? Where are they from? What's going on? And then Will Robinson, who we were trying to attract, and then we had other players that was like, we don't believe that this kid is this good. So I'll tell you what, why don't we let him play against the college guys? And I was like, oh, bro, rabbit there. And I was like, oh, shoot, I've been thrown in the briar patch because I practiced all summer with Bowling Green State University college guys. So they had Cassie Russell, Bill Bunton, Oliver Darden, all of those guys from the University of Michigan, Trigani, Clausen, all of the great players. I think they went to the Final Four or something the year before or that year. And I played against them. I had 16 points and 7 rebounds. And Will Robinson came up to my brother Roy, I like your boy. I like your brother. Let's see him play against the pros. So I played against the pros, the Pistons. I played 3 games that day.
At 15 years old.
Yeah, I played against the Pistons. Dave Bing put me on his team. He's a Hall of Famer as well. He put me on his team, and we had a ball. I was blocking stuff, running up and down the floor, and everybody was fascinated by my stamina because I had played 3 games, and all I wanted out of the deal, give me a Faygo root beer pop, and I'm good. So I guzzled it down some more, like, any more games? And it was like, and Will Robinson and all of the other coaches were like, he don't get tired, he runs like a deer. Because, again, down in Mississippi, you didn't have transportation. So I would run to the next town, which was 6 miles, 7 miles away. You just run. My brothers, we just run. And so I had all of these things that were so horrible in life, but we turned those adversities into gold. And so that's why I ended up at Persian High School. And Will Robinson said, okay, boys, come around. This is our team. Get around. So we sat on the floor, and he said, damn it, we've been playing with mules. I got us a horse. Meaning me. And we started playing with the goal of winning the Class A state championship. And it took us 1 year to get it ready, and then the following year we won it after a 35-year drought by Detroit public schools. We won it all. And then it was time to go away to college, and then that's when all of the universities came knocking because I had Dr. Wayne Dyer, and all of my tutors in high school. They made me, I had to walk around sometime with books on my head, keep from slouching. And he was teaching me. Wayne was this white guy who became a very famous author later on. But I was his first pupil, so he would teach me all of these things, in diction and words, because I was from the South. You draw all your words, and he just brought them out and correct my diction, had me moving forward. And then it became time for me to go away to college. So I came up with the idea, well, wouldn't it be nice if my mother could see me play and my family could see me play? And so we checked with the University of Mississippi and Mississippi State, and they were like, no, we don't accept blacks now. Wait a minute here. So I was the #1 high school player, so I said, okay. So I then signed with the University of Tennessee. And when I signed with the University of Tennessee, Adolph Rupp, who was the Kentucky coach, said, oh, no. I'm supposed to get the first black player superstar in the Southeastern Conference because I just lost to 5 blacks with Texas Western. I deserve Spencer. And come on down here, boy. And he was just talking so rough and so crazy. I was like, oh, boy. And Will Robinson came down and said, you don't need to be in this pissing contest. Why don't we send you off to this junior college in Colorado, close to New Mexico? It's going to be so much fun. You're going to love it. So we went off to Colorado, New Mexico. So we drove all night, and I get on campus, and we're looking around. Man, we're gonna run up to Denver this weekend, right? And it was like Denver's 360 miles away, and Albuquerque was 420. I was like, I'm stuck. So we went to balling and playing, just playing basketball, doing nice things for yourself, learning, and had a tutor. And we just really brushed up because you're in junior college. You got to go. If you maintain a B average, you could go into the major university the following year. So that was my thing. Lo and behold, 1968 rolled around. And then they were like, the newspaper came out, Karim is not going to the Olympics. He's boycotting the 68 Olympics. I didn't think anything about it. And then the next step was they put it in the paper. Wes Unseld and Elvin Hayes signed a pro contract, which meant back then, if you were a pro, you couldn't play in the Olympics. So Jerry Tarkanian, who was the coach, not at UNLV, but at a junior college, said, my boys are better than any of your players that you have down at the Olympic trials. Because they had Pete Maravich, Tom Bowinkle, Calvin Murphy. We also had Rick Mount. You had just all of the who's who of college basketball from D1 all the way to D3 and NIA and AAU. So everybody's in this gym. So here we come in, the JC guys, they said, oh my God, those are some renegades. So we came in and we started playing against these guys in scrimmages and games, and I was killing them. And Hank Iber came over to Jerry and said, Jerry, don't you get this boy hurt. We're looking at him very strongly for a team and for being on the 68 team. That's when I first heard it. I was like, I started going crazy. I started running harder, jumping higher and everything. And then Jerry says, we got to sit you down. Coach Iber don't want you to get hurt. So then we got to the round where we were selecting the team, and they kept cutting people. He was like, Pete Maravich. Now, Pete Maravich was averaging 44 points per game at LSU. And they cut Pete, and I was like, no way I'm going to make this team there. And then they cut Rick Mount, who was averaging 39 points per game at Purdue. He got cut. Then Calvin Murphy was averaging 33 points per game at Niagara. He got cut. And then they cut the big guy from Tennessee, Tom Bowinkle. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And then they said, okay, here's the first players that we have picked in this. Spencer Haywood. I was like, oh man, because all the time we was there for the 10 days, everybody was like, you gotta have your birth certificate here. Make sure your parents have your birth certificate here because we're gonna have to go and develop these passports. So we're gonna travel to Russia, to Yugoslavia, to Finland, and back to New York, and we're gonna play the scrimmage the Knicks, and then we're gonna go to Cincinnati and off to. You won't go home. You're just gonna go straight from these exhibition season, blah blah blah, and we're gonna go into Mexico. And it was like, why are you sweating over there, boy? Hey, Guy looked at me, and I was like, I didn't bring my birth certificate. Well, it's okay. We're gonna get one right away. All right, call your mother up, and we'll get your birth certificate here. So we called my mom, and she said, yeah, I got his birth certificate, but I'm not sending it up. And they said, well, why are you not going to send his birth certificate up? She said, because he don't have one like that. He have a birth certificate where we wrote it in the Bible under John 21. That's where his birth certificate is. She's in the Olympic Committee. You mean you don't have a physical birth certificate? You just got it written in the Bible? So we had to go to Mississippi, the Jackson Daily News, and all of the vital statistic people from Jackson. They went to my mom's house, and we was on a rough run. We had to get back. They had to get this thing done, and then they had to get it back to Alamosa, Colorado for the team. And Mrs. Eunice said, you're not going to come in my house and get my Bible and use up my Bible, put my son a birth certificate, and not eat my chicken. So they had to eat the food. Southern people, they had to eat the food, and everybody's looking at their watch like, whoa. So they was telling me the story. And then when they got my birth certificate, the midwife who I was born by on my mother's bed where I was conceived, she they had my name spelled Spensie.
Spensie. That's right.
So when they got the birth certificate back at Alamosa, Colorado, because we were training at the Olympic Village, but we was training in high altitude because of Mexico is in the high altitude. So, and all my teammates, Spensie. So, Hank Iber and the Olympic Committee changed my name back to Spencer, and I was on my way. We get to Russia, and we were like, yeah, man, I'm out of the country first time. Boy, this is beautiful. And they had us eating together, the Russian team and the American team. The Russian team had a curtain between, and we was on the other side. So we were eating this food, and some of the guys on the team and I was saying, this steak here is pretty stringy. It's a pretty stringy steak here they got in Russia. And then JoJo White, who played with the Celtics, said, boy, that's horse. So that was our filet mignon, was the horse. The horse steak with gravy on it. And poor Charlie Scott, he was skinny anyway, and he had been pampered by Dean Smith down in North Carolina. So I'm not going to eat it. I said, well, hey, Charlie, why don't you eat my ice cream and my cake for dessert? Give me that horse. So I ate all of his horse, and he couldn't make it, so they had to send him home. We had to send him home, yeah, because he was a crybaby. Oh, Dean, please get me out of here. They're crazy. And so we sent him home, and he re-up because he was skinny, and so he lost all of this weight, and he got sick as a dog. So we finished out in Russia, and then in Yugoslavia, and then on into Finland, and then back to New York to play the Knicks, to scrimmage the Knicks. And that's when Howard Cosell was like, I don't know, this Olympic team, we picked them to finish last. And he stuck the mic in my face and like, what do you think? You're supposed to be the big star. I was like, I don't know nothing. I don't care about nothing but just basketball. And Hank Ivor was like, yes, that's my boy. And so Howard was like, might have a good chance. Let's see how you do against Willis Reed. Now, of course, those guys was not in the best of shape, because they hadn't went through training camp or anything like that, the pro teams. So I went out there and killed Willis Reed and all of the other Knicks. And so that's when the first time I saw my name in the paper, like, you know what? This Olympic team might be a winner. And because you had JoJo White, Charlie Scott, you had Mike Silliman, you had just really a strong team. And then we went to Cincinnati and we were busting Cincinnati's butt. And then when it was over, Oscar took me and a couple other guys up to the level upstairs and was talking to us with the coach that you guys are going to win this, because he was there in 64, I think it was, 64, I think. And he was telling us all about the experience and stuff. And so then the next thing, we were off from Cincinnati to Mexico City. Arrive in Mexico City, then you had all of this turmoil going on because of the black boycott. The tracks, people are saying they're going to boycott. And then Tommy Smith and John Carlos arrived on campus, and we were like, these are the militant guys, so let's listen to these guys. And so we were sitting in the room like 3 days later, and because the Olympic Village and the Olympic Committee for USA was like nervous that we were going to do something stupid, like boycotting down there and not play, which I was never. I was just like, God, I got that passport, remember?
Yeah, I didn't do all that for nothing.
Passport, babe. I'm out of the cotton field. You got to be mad. Anyway, so we're sitting in this room, and Wilma Rudolph, she come in. We were like, wow, Wilma Rudolph. She was a great track star from Olympics, I think in 60 or 64. And then the door kind of creaked open, and it was Jesse Owens. We were like, oh, yeah, Jesse Owens. And so Jesse was talking, sort of like an Uncle Tom telling us what are we going to do, be like, and everything. So Tommy Smith and John Carlos said, what did they do to you? Why they didn't treat you right when you came back? And he got so mad. And he looked at both of them. He said, how would any of you two sons of bitches would have felt running before Hitler? And we was like, oh boy. So George Foreman hit me in my shoulder. I'm like, man, don't be hitting me like that. And because we were sitting there because we were thinking, we're going to go to the commissary after this and guzzle down all of the food. So, so we were like, oh man. So Jesse got mad and everybody said, well, I guess we got to lace them up. We're going to play. There's no boycott coming here. And that's how we got to the black glove being raised, because when they decided that if they won their race, they were going to salute the black folks back home, because the black folks were against us being at that Olympics for some reason. And
that was all because of the mistreatment of black athletes. Is that where the boycott was coming from?
Black athletes in the United States, but also that was the same time that we had the murder of Martin Luther King, because he met with John and Tommy before the Olympics, explaining that they should go to the Olympics. Jackie Robinson, all of these great people had met with the old heads about the importance of being in the Olympics. And so that was a big drop for us. And it was just a weird time. And then when they won their event, they put up the black glove and salute. Yeah. And the Avery Brundage, who were a friend of Hitler's, I know. Anyway, he was the head of the OIC or whatever, the Olympic Committee, and he threw him out of the village, and we had to turn in all of our passport, and he says, whatever happened, you'll not get out of this country if you don't do what we want done here. No more talk, no more boycotting, no more nothing. I got your passports. And so we were like, oh boy. So then George Foreman gets in and beat the Russian for the belt. and you see George Foreman walking around with the little flag in his hand, the American flag, because George was like, whatever happened, I just want to get back to Houston.
Yeah. No confusion.
And so here I am. We'll play our final game, and I'm standing on the podium, and they said, Campione, Haywood, Campione. And I was like, who, me? And so they were getting ready to put this gold medal on my neck, and I'm thinking, wow, can you imagine 3 to 4 years ago, I was a slave picking cotton, and now I am on the biggest stage in the world receiving the gold medal. And so I just started crying like, and so JoJo White and Mike Silliman and Bill Hoskett, I knew you was a baby. I knew you was a baby. You're out there crying like a baby. Man, keep that thing on you. I was like, can I explain it to you guys? And we were just talking after, the ceremony. And they kept saying, they walked up to me and said, do you know you broke the record in scoring? I was like, what record? They called off 4 records, and I was like, huh? So then I went back to Detroit and thinking that all of the black folks in Detroit was going to be waiting for me at that airport. Like, we're going to get him for going to that Olympics. I arrived at the city airport, at the Metro Airport, just full of black and white people. Champion, come here, baby. The governor and everybody. I was like, Howard Cosell, you were wrong.
you jerk.
So that was my Olympic journey.
I mean, it's, first of all, your brain, Spencer, is like the most impressive thing I've ever seen. You're not so good at electronics, but names and dates and memories, you have that on lockdown for sure.
Electronics?
Hey, nah. You're killing it. But I mean, honestly, the fact that you remember like all these stats about all these players and all these people, I mean, it's just so incredibly impressive. But what really stands out to me is it feels like Will really knew what he was doing, sending you to that junior college, because it gave you the opportunity. Because, I just don't think, to really.
I wouldn't have been eligible at a major university because they didn't allow freshman Matt to play.
Right.
Basketball. Mm-hmm. If you were a freshman, you couldn't play it with nobody. You would just scrub. You'd just sit there.
Which is just
so wasn't that a blessing?
Yeah, so he really knew what he was doing, and it's so good he looked out for you. But I just can't imagine the pressure that you were under, to come from such a small world and to know so little, and then just, not only the pressure of playing with athletes, but now you're like responsible for racism in America. Like no pressure at 18 years old. I mean, it's just it's so much, and that's such an iconic for people listening. If they don't remember like that scene, that power, that picture of the 2 athletes holding that. Yes. I mean, that was a big deal, right? It was huge deal, and so for you to be a part of that and come out of that okay, and and not only that, but those records that you
I set the most points in the Olympics in this history.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I had the highest field goal percentage in the history of the Olympics, the most rebounds, and the most block shots.
And how long did you hold those records?
I held that record. I held the scoring record until
Kevin Durant, right?
44 years until Kevin Durant broke it.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. But hold on, I always tell Kevin, there's an asterisk by his.
Exactly.
Because I didn't shoot threes.
Exactly.
And I was a young pup, and he was 27 when he won it. So he just did a piece last week on Spencer Haywood. Kevin Garnett.
He should.
Not Kevin Garnett, but Kevin Durant wrote a nice piece about me, how important I am to him and his wealth and his career. I was like, whoa, these guys are getting it.
They're starting to get it, right? And I mean, I get it. You're focused on your career and your athleticism, and you're trying to stay out of trouble as best you can. And everybody's dealing with the hand they were dealt, right? Everybody's got their own set of like, especially as a black athlete in America, it's been a very difficult road for a lot of people. So let's jump ahead a little bit, because I mentioned that.
Well, let me just take you through the college, because what happened was, all of these universities was coming, and I said, I'm going to play with Karim out at UCLA, and John Wooden was like there, and then they had Sam Gilbert, like, I got the money. And so everybody in Detroit, the mayor, the governor, and everybody was just saying, come home and play. We're going to give Will Robertson the job because he was the #1 high school coach now in the country. So I came back to the University of Detroit, where I was an All-American. I finished second behind Karim in the MVP balloting. And then the draft came up that year, and the ABA was like falling. They said, we got to get Karim. We got to get him to come to the ABA. So they offered him everything under the sun, which was fraudulent, but, you know, his agents and all those UCLA people, they would all that academic stuff. So they told him, no, you don't take that contract. Go with Milwaukee, a real league and a real contract. So he went to the Milwaukee Bucks. And so they came after me and said, we're going to break our rule because we can't get nobody in the draft, because every time the NBA draft them and they go all of them are going to the NBA. They're not going to the ABA. So we got to usurp the draft by letting an underclassman come in and play. And you are it. And so it was Hannah Storm's father, Mike Storm, who was the public relations for the whole league. He set that up. And so I went over to Denver, and I was the Rookie of the Year, MVP of the league, MVP of the All-Star game, averaging 30 and 20. So I asked the owner for a raise, and he gave me a raise, but he gave me a fraudulent contract because I was still underclassed. I wasn't 21 yet. And then I get this lawyer, and so we walk in like, yeah, man, we're going to get this contract straightened out. And this was Al Ross' first big deal. He was my lawyer, my agent at the time. So he walks in, hey, Ringsby, we're going to change this contract and make it real. And so he listened to us very nicely, you know, listen, yeah. Okay, guys. So, Spencer, you can't go back to college. You can't go to the NBA. And you got this Jew-ass lawyer in here with you. You get your nigga ass out of here and this Jew-ass lawyer and be ready to play when the clock starts. We were like, whoa, that's no way to treat the MVP. All the other stuff I didn't matter because I'd heard it in Mississippi, so that was, yeah. And so Jerry Colangelo and Sam Schulman had the two expansion teams, Phoenix Suns and the Seattle Supersonics. The Phoenix Suns said, we're going to raid the ABA. Every MVP they have, we're going to snatch them from the ABA and bring them to the NBA. Thus, the first one to leave was Connie Hawkins, who was the MVP before me. He snatched him and took him over to Phoenix. And my turn was the MVP. Sam Schulman said, I'm going to snatch him too. But they was like, Sam, you can't do it. The NBA was like, you can't do it, Sam, because he's an underclassman. I don't care. And I was like, I don't care either. So what are we going to do? Sam said, we're going to go and we're going to sign and we're going to play. So after I signed the contract, I'm walking out on the floor. Yeah, man, I got my Sonic jersey on. Everything is nice. I even cleaned up my face. And they said, ladies and gentlemen, we have an illegal player on the floor, number 24. I was like, oh, that's me. He must be escorted off this floor because this injunction is for the next 10 days. We got him. And so I went back to the hotel and started working out with Rick Welch. We were just working. And I was doing all my road work, running through Seattle. And people, you got to get him. You're going to win this case. You're going to win this case. And I keep saying, what case? You're fighting them all the way to the Supreme Court because they're not going to stop. And I was like, oh, the case. So then I get an injunction to play for 10 days. And they would like say every time, ladies and gentlemen, this game is under protest. We have an illegal player. And so I would play for those 10 days, and then they would get another 10-day injunction. and I would sit home and they would do some horrible stuff. So then it just went on and maneuvering through the courts, through the district, and all the way up to the Supreme Court. Before they was hearing the case, they had two more drama periods. One was in Cincinnati, where they said, ladies and gentlemen, we have this illegal player number 24. We have an injunction to put him off the grounds in which this arena sat on. So they put me out into the snow. Yeah. So I'm standing out there freezing because the team had to play, so they couldn't. And those days you travel with, I had Lenny Wilkins, player coach in a suit, in a uniform, Rod Thorne, who's the assistant coach in a uniform player, and the associate coach was Tom Macheri in a suit. I mean, playing the game. So we had nobody in the clothes to go out and tell me. It was just everybody in uniform. And so I got on the bus. After that, froze everything. In fact, the police who was sitting outside the gates, outside the line, saw me freezing to death. So they put me in the car and said, we're going to lose our jobs for that. And I was talking shit like, yeah, well, I'm going to make enough money. I'll pay for your career. And they were like, shut up. Just get warm and shut up. We're going to lose our job over this madness. And so I finally got warmed, and then the bus came around, picked us up, and we kept going. And then I get to Chicago, and Chet Walker is in the warm-up, and he says, oh, I hurt my ankle. And the next morning I read the newspaper, Chet Walker and the Chicago Bulls sued me for $600,000. I was like, dang. So then the case had maneuvered all the way to the Supreme Court. And then that's when the justice system said, we would like for him to play. And the argument that Justice Marshall put forth was, we allowing tennis players, hockey players, baseball players, tiddlywinks, you can go when you want to, when you're ready to play. But the two revenue sports, basketball and football, you can't go because we want to keep making money off of you. Exactly. So, and he also mentioned the fact that, at that time, the Vietnam War was going on and stuff. So everybody could go to the war at age 18, but you can't make a living for yourself in America at 18 because of, basketball. You can't do anything in sports other than those sanctioned sports like baseball, tennis, etc. And so he said it's wrong, and I won the case. And I was like, yeah, finally. And then the next year, the NBA Players Association, because I was not a member of the union, so they made me a member of the union, and then the NBA said, let's give him one last slap before we let him play. So the draft came up, and they said, Haywood is drafted in the second round by Buffalo. I had played 2 years of pro. And on my record as of today, it says Haywood was drafted by Buffalo in the second round. And so, who was it? Was it Iguodala? I think it was Andre Iguodala said, you wasn't so tough. Why was you drafted in the second round? I was like, bro. And now he's the head of the union.
Of course.
Yeah. So that was that period. And then this summer, first of all, we were like, they was getting ready to shoot Winning Time. And I was like, oh gosh. And the writer tried to get in touch with me. I was like, I don't want to talk to nobody about this. I want as less pub as possible. I don't want to know about this Winning Time. And why would y'all want me in it? I was only there that 1 year. And it was like, no, but your character is a strong character. And we're going to get an award-winning actor to play you, Wood Harris. And I was like, oh, man, so let me just be sick for 2 years. And so when the thing came out, And here we are down in LA, and we're doing a celebration of Karim's 75th birthday. So they have all of us on the floor, me, all of our team, because we all been hanging. So here's LeBron and all of those players from, we was playing OKC, which was the formerly of the Sonics. And the coach explained it to the players, and that's the guy that made you rich, blah, blah, blah. I didn't know he had explained it to him. The same thing happened with the Lakers. And so LeBron and all of them, he knew. But him and Westhead and Anthony Davis came and wrestled into me. And I was like, but it's Kareem's birthday. It's not my birthday. They said, no, man, winning time. You're the man that made me rich. And I was like, oh, the worst thing in my life is the best thing of my life? And then the movie companies came knocking at the door. Oh, man, your character for that 1 year was just dominant. What about your whole life?
Right.
And then that's when I agreed upon making a movie with Lionsgate for the Spencer Haywood story, made for motion picture in the theaters.
Okay, so Spencer, you tell all these stories in like such a colorful way, from the perspective of just being a human going through all this. But I think what is so powerful is that you've literally created generational wealth for generations of athletes, and to really think about like how bad it was. I love you never focus on the negative; you always focus on the story. But these universities were making millions of dollars off of these athletes.
Millions of dollars.
Billions of dollars, and just using people up and not giving them an education while they're there. And then 4 years later, if they were lucky, their bones were broken, they were used up, they weren't educated, and they had nothing to show for it.
Nothing to show for it.
Universities are building multi-billion-dollar stadiums. And so, what you did, it's the hardship rule, is that what it is, where you can't prevent a man?
Well, they call it the hardship rule, and then because I sued the NBA in the NC2A, so they said, whatever happens, we're never going to put his name on this ruling. Yet we have the Larry Bird rule, which is a modified version of mine, and the Oscar Robertson rule, which is basically mine. And so that's what the fight has been about, because they call it first the hardship, second they call it
the one and
early entry.
Okay.
Third, they call it one and done. And the fourth, they just call it anything, but not Spencer Haywood rule. So now I have the Players Association and Commissioner Adam Silver. They're finishing up this final TV deal and all of the betting deal that they're doing. And also they're going to bring in the two teams. They are going to switch the name over finally to the Spencer Haywood rule.
As they should.
Yeah, so the players are pushing for it. Garnett, former player who just did a special with me, Matt Burns, all of those hard-hitting podcasters are doing it. And now the players are doing it, like Kevin Durant is one of the guys who are leading. LeBron is leading. So I'm just sitting back and saying, hey, it's going to happen on God's time, not on my time. Usually when stuff happen on my time, I got high.
Right. Well, I think we would be remiss for sure to not mention that you also just received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Ryan Gordy Foundation, among other things. I mean, honestly, it's about time
that Motown. That's where I grew up. That's Motown. And then to receive it in California in this swanky Beverly Hills hotel.
Yeah, people playing music really and performing and whatnot. I saw that.
Yeah. And then I have received quite a few things that happened this year.
You've been on, every time I get on social, I see you standing there with somebody, LeBron, Magic,
Yeah. And these guys, that's why I got the jersey on today. We have all of our championships. But what happened was I lost my wife last summer, Linda, after 36 years of marriage. She passed on. And I get this call from Magic Johnson saying, man, we're going to Hawaii. We want you to go with us. You know, we're a family, the Lakers. And then Pat Riley said, man, we're going to love you up some. So they took me over to Hawaii, and Karim, Michael Cooper, all of us we stayed over there for 7 to 8 days and just hung out, and a lot of love with the wives and stuff. And ironically, Cookie, Magic's wife, and my wife went to the same high school. They knew each other in high school.
That's wild.
So it was just a beautiful thing for me. And it's just been incredible what's going on in my life and how life is just giving me what I always thought I was deserving of, but it never happened on my time. And so now they did a special on how much money was created for the athletes by me. It's up around $60 billion for families. To make that change for families, generational wealth. I mean, because you do it for one athlete, but you're doing it for 20 or 30 people down the line, agents and everybody else. So it's pretty heavy stuff. And this little boy from Silver City, Mississippi, where it ain't no city and it ain't no
silver.
That's right.
It ain't no silver and it ain't no city.
Well, I gotta ask too. Speaking of lots of money, you know, this is one for the sneakerheads. But you were the original shoe deal. Let's talk about. I know that's like I know. No,
it's all good. It's all good because you know what? I got news for you.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I was the original Nike shoe guy, the spokesperson and the whole deal. But at the time, Phil did not have he didn't have his office set up and stuff. So we were rolling with the shoe out of the trunk and the whole bit. So my guy, who I had trusted, he said, I want to be an agent. You know, he had just finished up at the University of Washington and we was friends. And so I said, okay, be an agent. Do this contract for me with Nike. And I'm going on the road. I'll give you a power of attorney letter. Take care of it. You the man. So I come back and he tells me, man, that shoe wasn't going to make it, you know. I did sell your stock because I couldn't get, I'm getting ready to be thrown out of my house for my mortgage and everything. So I don't have no money. But you know, that shoe ain't going to make it. He kept trying to reiterate the shoe's not going to make it. And so I sold my stock. So they registered my stock, and Phil Knight, the owner of Nike, always rub it in. You're at $2.2 billion. Michael Jordan called me to have dinner. I'm thinking, oh man, me and Mike, we're gonna roll, man. We're gonna play golf. We're gonna like just spend some time. We in New York. We at this big long table. We talking business, and he goes on and on about this Nike deal. Spencer was the first one. We had all the owners there because they was doing that collective bargaining. And I was like, Mike, I don't want to hear about it. And he just went on and on about me and my dumb mistake and shit. I said, Mike, boy, and then I had to cut him off and put him in his place by saying, you wouldn't have been in the league if it wasn't for my dumb mistake going to the Supreme Court. He said, touche, touche.
I'll simmer down now.
So we left it. And so now Nike is coming back with possibly the Spencer Haywood OG shoe.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love it.
So again, all of these things are happening years and years and years, not on my time, but on God's time. So here I am now like, whoa, a OG shoe? With Nike?
Watching it all unfold, yep.
Yeah, so I'm just watching it all happen in front of me and just being in a state of gratitude because I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for my health, my children, my daughters are doing well, my grandkids don't like basketball. No.
Who's
my
counting?
grandsons, they like it. They just talking yak. And my granddaughter is saying, don't worry, Papa. I'm going to be the best basketball player you ever had. And I said, That's my girl.
There you go. There you go. Well, Spencer, when I think about you, I really think about perseverance and purpose, because you are just such a humble person, and your faith and your belief and the belief in yourself is just really unmatched, to go through all that hardship, but just to keep your eye on the goal, right? Which is a happy family, a happy life, a healthy life, and then you get all these accolades, a long time later, right? You should have gotten a lot of these sooner, but it's like you said, it's not on your time, you're on God's plan. But even in all these terrible things, even the last year, I mean, I think about you all the time with Linda, and how hard that must be to have somebody so close to you that you love so much, and then they're not there, and then you're winning these awards and all these good things are happening. And I know that's got to be so bittersweet for you, because
because I know she would be styling and profiling on that event, on all of these events, and just happy as hell because she went through all of the suffering and all of my recovery and everything, because I got 39 years, but I only have one day. And the moral of the story about me and Michael is when I told him, I said, if I had got that money, Michael, I probably would have been dead. And that's when he was like, because I flashed back to LA, and I said, I probably would have been dead.
I mean, that transition from being a literal slave in the early 60s, right? While people are, peace, love, and Woodstock, right? And you're literally a slave. And then to go through all of that change, of course you had some struggles with drugs and money. And I mean, how could you not, to go from one extreme to the other and have such pressure on you and not make a bad turn, or a detour, if you will, here and there. I mean, I think you're right. And I think the universe.
Yeah, well, being the first, Molly, being the first in anything is like, you pay a serious price. And I paid that price, but I came out on the other side with my sanity, with my godliness. And I'm happy, I'm healthy, and life is good.
And Spencer, I gotta say, when I was managing your social media for a little while, this is one of my favorite things to tell people about you. You get to peek behind the curtain of somebody's social media, and just watching how you engage with your own daughters on social media is the most wholesome thing I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. I sometimes would just see your comments on their posts and your messages to them, and I would just cry, because you are literally the most loving, wholesome person I have ever met in my life.
Yeah, well, I was born, even though I have 5 brothers, I have 4 sisters too. So, and I got 4 daughters.
And they are all stunners, and they are just doing things. And Isis with her music, she's just killing it right now. I mean, I feel like I'm a quiet little part of your, cheering section for the whole family, and it's just wonderful.
She's with the NBA Players Association as one of their chief psychologists for the league now, as well as her own private practice. Courtney is a professor at Lincoln University there in Philadelphia, and Zuleika is running Iman Inc. Because we never did talk about my life with Iman.
Exactly.
The model that was married to David Bowie later, but I brought her from the sticks. No, I didn't. No, she's from Somalia, so I always kid her and my granddaughter, because my granddaughter listened to both of us, and I tell her stories. Your mother didn't know, your mama didn't know nothing. I brought her out of Africa, and he's such a creep. He didn't bring me out of no place.
You're like, come on, man, what are you doing? And your daughter, with her, she's doing what now?
Helps run Iman Inc., the cosmetics and the fashion and stuff. But my primary thing now is she's raising her daughter in Wichita, Kansas, because her husband is a restaurateur, and so all the restaurants he runs down there, and they saying to Vinny and my granddaughter, "You're gonna be the best dancer ever, 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 ever." Iman and Zuleika. And when I get up close to Vinny and I said, "What you gonna be, darling?" She said, "I'm a basketball player." I said, "Yes, yes, that's my girl."
And how many grandchildren do you have?
I have 3, and then my 8-year-old, he's trying to figure out why am I playing baseball, because my daughter wanted to play baseball for a minute. You got clock with the ball, and he's like, "Oh, I can't wait to play basketball," because he's 4 inches taller than his class.
Oh, then he should definitely be playing ball.
I know, but and then I got the monster man who watches LeBron stuff continuously. All he do is play LeBron and Jordan stuff on, that thing they have. Matt,
the game. Yeah.
The game, but also the
movie. 2K, PlayStation,
the movie.
Space Jam?
With Michael Jordan and the movie with LeBron. He watches it over and over.
No, Space Jam, where they go into like
Space Jam.
I was
going to say Michael Jordan was the original one, and then LeBron had the new one.
So he watched them both back and forth. And his mom was a Division I player at Northern Illinois, so he's got it, and he's got attitude too. Can't wait to bust him up in a couple of weeks.
I love it. Well, Spencer, you seem like you're in good health. I know you had a rocky road last year as well with health issues and everything else, but you seem like you're in real good spirits. And
came out on the other side, and also being that I'm a survivor of prostate cancer, this is my 9th year clean, and I've been going around speaking on behalf of that, trying to get men to get checked. Because we don't want to talk about that stuff, man. What are you talking
speaking
about?
of which,
I'm not going to get a check.
I love that the Lakers all brought you to the Hawaii for 8 days. I think that's we brush by that, but I just think that's so important. Like for men to commune together and love on each other like that, and relate and be vulnerable with each other. And I think that's a nice story to hear. That all these men.
It was a nice story, but it was also. It was a redemption story where we were just, because I left under strange circumstance with 1 game to go, and so it was kind of fun. Those guys beating me up a little bit because, damn, Wood, we'd have had 7 in a row.
Right.
You couldn't keep your hand out of the cocaine barrel. You can't do this to me. Look, I'm just here. No, let me tell you. It was like, ragging on each other. So we hadn't did that in, 40-something years? Yeah, it was beautiful.
It's so important. Well, I really think that you are leading a movement, Spencer. I think that everybody you come in contact with is impacted by your positivity and your perspective and your purpose. I really do believe that. And I'm so thrilled, like you have assistants working for you, making sure you are right, all these things. I mean, it's really, it's just really beautiful to see you getting all the flowers that you deserve, and I can't wait to watch the next couple years. I hope
you and Matt was there on a beginning stage of some other stuff. So
well,
let me tell you a bit about the movie and about the people who are behind this great project. We got Vassal Benford. Vassal is like, he's a record mogul person from Sony Music, and we have Terrell Harris, who is Tobias Harris' father.
Okay.
He's one of my agents, and Mark Canton, who does the whole Power series on Stars, Power 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he was an executive with Warner Brothers, and he's big player. So those are my team, and that's what's going on. And it's pretty cool stuff.
Well, whenever you're ready, we'll get that podcast started again, because it's our favorite piece of content to produce, just because the conversation.
Well, I'm here again today. That's what I felt. I was just feeling it. I was like, wow, the old days.
Yeah. I mean, it's we met through Lamont.
But we didn't talk about
just missing Lamont. Yeah.
Lamar. We didn't talk about what do you think? Who's going to win this stuff? Who's going to win it all? What about the play-in tournament? So maybe we got to do another one. But it's a lot of basketball. Now I'm into it.
Yeah, just started up about a month ago. Yeah. If that, a couple weeks in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge sports person, but I find your sports commentary incredibly interesting because it's so rich with history and backstory that it's just it makes it really interesting, to be a part of that and to listen. But whenever you're ready, we love hanging out with you, Spencer. We love working with you. It's always a joy and an honor to spend time with you, and I really do feel lucky and grateful that I met you and got to work with you a little bit, and I know you. Because your story, like I said, a week or two ago, I stopped dead in my tracks and thought he was a slave in the 60s. That, my brain broke a little bit. It's just to really understand the depths of systemic racism and everything that's happened. And for you to just come out knocking down these barriers with a smile on your face, no matter how hard it's gotten. I think we could all be a little bit more like Spencer Haywood, and I think our lives would be dramatically improved by doing so. So, all of the love and respect to you, Spencer.
All coming out of the cotton field.
Hey.
If I can survive the cotton field, everything else is gravy.
Perspective is everything. So, Spencer, when is the movie coming out? Like when?
Well, we've been on strike for the Screen Actors, and we just now broke on the screenwriters. We are now interviewing this week for the writers, and now we also are looking at the actor that's going to star in the lead. And the guy that we had first, and then he had to fight on stage, was Will Smith. So that was
maybe not so much.
Yeah, so we have to start all over. We're going to find the right person. We are looking, secondly, at Adonis Hodge, who played in Black Adam with The Rock. Mm-hmm. But he's 6'1", and the other guy that's pushing for the part is Dwayne Wade, my guy.
Yeah, you've been golfing with him, so
my golf buddy, my hanging dog.
That's amazing. So. Oh, man, Spencer. Well, that's amazing. Well, let me say, if you need a middle-aged white woman as an extra on that movie, I got you. I can be real good at the background.
That's our team. Remember, we were this team. We still are,
Hey, I'm here for you. You know what I mean? I'm here for you. And when you do start filming, you got to let me know. I'll come out and visit you and gas you up, man. That would make me so happy to do that. But
you can play Miss Alexander.
I can be real tough or sweet. Just tell me what to do.
No, Miss Alexander, she ran the grocery store behind our house, where the only place you could get food in Silver City, Mississippi, was Miss Alexander. She was an important person. And she received the phone call when they were looking. My mother we didn't have a phone, so my mother had to go to her store to get the call about getting the birth certificate and talk to the people. So.
What was it under? John what?
John 21 in the Bible. Because my dad was John, and so she just put it there. The last chapter in John.
Hey, you know what? You never know. Maybe writing your name on those pages sent your destiny in motion, right? Because you were protected from the very beginning.
There it is. Perfect.
There it is.
Well, Spencer, it doesn't get much better than that, so we should end it right now. And
we should end it right there. That was it.
Hey,
that's perspective.
I believe that. I do believe that.
No, I feel it from you, and I said thank you. That's real. Okay.
Let Spencer be a reminder to you today. If you're struggling, if you're having a hard time, which you absolutely have a right to do, but just remember, perspective is anything. And right when things feel real bad, they can get real good. And you never know. Maybe your journey, your struggle is the beginning of redemption and opportunity for generations of people, right? And so it's where do you stand in the struggle, like Bob Marley said, So
yeah.
Spencer, thank you so much for being here and for being a part of our lives. Me and Matt both love you so much, honestly, you know, and I'm just so grateful to know you and to see you shine, and just know that we are always rooting you on. We are always clapping for you. We'll always chat about you, and we're just so happy to see everything going in the direction that it should.
Well, thank you. I got this big public relations company that's a big snooty company. No, I'm just mad. I know I know the other Matt is on the other line probably. Lobaline has been doing some incredible work for me. They have been wow.
You deserve it, and I'm so glad that they found you and you found them, because you deserve every bit of it and more. And they should know, if they want anything from Heartcast Media, that we are on Team Spencer Haywood. So let's do this. All right, Spencer. Thank you all for tuning in to Camp Content. This was a very special episode. I know we talk about content and marketing, but you know what? Sometimes you got to put all that aside when you get to sit down with a legend who can offer some wisdom, intelligence, kindness, and all of the good things that Spencer always brings. So thank you for tuning in to Camp Content today. I hope you share this. I hope you found it valuable, and we'll see you on the next one. Until then, be good to each other, and aim for the stars. You never know. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Camp Content. This is Molly.
And this is Matt.
And we are Heartcast Media, a.k.a. Camp Content, and we appreciate all of your support. If you found this content valuable, please comment on social media, LinkedIn, wherever you find us, and we will make sure to comment back.
And be sure to go on and subscribe and like on your favorite platforms, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, you name it. Leave us that subscription. Leave us that good review.
We'll love you forever. So until next time, be excellent to each other, and we'll see you next week.
Produced by Heartcast Media.